Welcome to the Advise Show, media with a common sense approach. Another story, ladies and gentlemen, that should be national headlines. But you have this sister that was going to her job early in the morning, and this guy that's on the screen ended up hitting her. And while they had an accident, the sister survived the accident, but this guy decides to get out of a car with a rifle and end up shooting this woman down. Let's go roll the clip.
Deborah Pearl was on her way to work last Saturday when witnesses say an SUV ran a red light and plowed into her car. The SUV landed on its roof and the driver got out with a rifle. Police say Matthew Desha walked over to the woman's car and shot her several times. Pearl is survived by her husband and 3 grown children.
Now, some information about this guy. This guy was a veteran of the Iraq War. He served 2 tours of duty between 2004 and 2008. Now, they say that anytime somebody had crossed words with this guy, he would just go off on people, trying to beat people to a bloody pulp. In July, he was arrested for having guns and drugs, and yet he's back out on the streets. But we know that when we posted some stories that certain individuals can do some heinous things and be right back out of jail. But if it's the other way around, that won't happen. So this man ended up killing this woman that didn't do him anything. He shot into that car about 12 times. 3 of the rounds hit the sister, and she ended up dying at the hospital. And now her family's tore up, hurt. Anybody in America could be her driving to their job, and you have this idiot that do something like this. Now, you can go many angles with this. You can talk about the PTSD issue with this and say this is what happens when you have people coming back from war zones and the VA fails veterans. The government do not take care of veterans at all. They treat them, I tell people all the time, worse than $2 whores. They use them up and then they come back and they all screwed up because they got them screwed up by putting them in a war zone. And then they just left out to the public just to fiend for themselves. Then they go to the VA to try to get some help. And there's long lines. They can't see people. You got doctors who are actually racist toward Americans, which you remember I posted an interview with a doctor from the VA a while back about one doctor that worked there and how he was calling the patients stupid Americans. You got that kind of stuff going on in the VA. People that's totally untreated. Okay, then you got, of course, the road rage issue as well in the midst of this. Then we also look at it from the media standpoint. Once again, if this was a black veteran and he killed a 52-year-old white woman, this would have been plastered all over the news. We have to admit that. Some of you may say, why he keeps saying this today? Because you know it's the truth. You know I'm not lying when I say this. The mainstream media is so disingenuous, and this is why only 6% of Americans trust them now. That's why they have so much problems with alternative media. We keep putting the pressure on them. Ask them why they didn't talk about this. This is a tragedy. You can talk about many angles with this story. Many. PTSD, road rage, all kind of stuff you can get into with this. And then on top of that, the media doesn't want to cover certain things because it doesn't fit their narratives, because they don't believe black people could be victims like this at all. But if it's the other way around, that's running all day. You'll know who that guy, the black dude was, and you'll know about his family, his past, you know everything. And he'll be called all kind of ends and all kind of words if this would have been a black dude. This is why independent media is important. And this is why you guys have to support independent media, because we don't get millions of dollars to do what we do. I'm talking about those in independent media. They only survive off of, people watching their stuff, or people donating, or people, doing their Patreon or whatever. If you want the important stories, we would definitely bring you the stories, because the mainstream media is just not doing their job. They're pandering to people. They refuse to have the fairness doctrine, which is, cover everything. They don't want to do that. They're leaning on political sides. I mean, we have a screwed up media system in America, and the only people who's bringing balance is your independent people all over this country. You have a lot of great people who do podcasts, radio shows, do news channels on, YouTube or wherever else they're doing them. So we have to make sure to keep supporting our independent media. because stories like this going to keep slipping through the cracks because the mainstream media has to follow that narrative when it comes to things involving race. Hit me up in the comments, use the commentaries, subscribe.